My walls are bare now because I'm moving. Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Cameron. I make videos about books and reading, and specifically what I've been reading. And every month I do a monthly recap, so here we are. We're talking about January 2025. That's insane. 2025. Crazy. I hope you all have had a good year so far. I've had a pretty good year. That being said, that has not really reflected on my reading, in my opinion, and we're gonna go over this. Something interesting that I've decided I'm going to do because, well, I'll explain to you when we get there, but I am not gonna let you know a lot of my star ratings for these books anymore, unless it's like a 5-star, I recommend this to everybody, everybody should read this kind of situation. Because I just found that this month was not a great reading month for me, first of all. And second of all, I am rereading a controversial book series for a set of videos that I am doing. And it's well, I'll just go ahead and tell you what it is. It's Harry Potter. But there's like a combination of a lot of nostalgia wrapped up in it for me, and also a lot of, like, I'll say dislike. I don't think that's the accurate word for the scenario, but I'm being kind, for the author. So I don't feel like I can rate that book series particularly with any, like, unbiased, like, hey, this book is this good. Because I find myself either being like, oh, but the nostalgia makes it better, or oh, but the author's actions make it worse. So yeah, because I was reading that series, and because I just found I wasn't hugely impressed with a lot of the books I read this month, we're not going to be talking about star ratings, at least for this month. If you guys are like dying for star ratings, like you want me to tell you like all of them and you can like, so you can know exactly what I think about them, I can still do that. But I feel like my tone and how I talk about a lot of the books already kind of insinuates that I like how I feel about a book. So anyway, those are my thoughts, just jumping straight in, apparently. So, as always, I try to read a classic book, a translated work, and a non-fiction work. So let's talk about those first. I did read a classic. I thought I forgot a classic, but then I realized I've been listening to it for the last 2 days. So the classic I read this month was Agatha Christie's The Murder of Roger Ackroyd. I listened to this on audio and I thought it was good. I mean, Agatha Christie is the master of her craft. She is like the top tier mystery writer. The interesting part about Ackroyd is that it's super controversial because of the conclusion the book comes to. Like the resolution of the mystery is the first of its kind. And I don't want to spoil it for you because, like I said, it's good. And if you've never read an Agatha Christie, this is my second one I've ever read. Personally, I enjoy And Then There Were None more. But I also understand that that one's kind of got a lot of controversial history too, so if you want to start off with something different, Murder of Roger Ackroyd is a great one. That being said, if you haven't read it, I'm not going to spoil it, but I find that its specific ending I don't think is necessarily narratively satisfying. Like the trope that she created in this book, essentially, I don't always find that satisfying according to the narrative. That being said, I do think she's done that the best. Am I vague enough for you yet? But yeah, so I still really enjoyed it. I will be looking probably into other Agatha Christie books, so if you have a favorite, if you like really recommend one, comment it down below because I would love to read it. So, yeah, my non-fiction, I don't know what it was. I really couldn't get into it. I listened to this on audiobook. It's called How Europe Underdeveloped Africa. Super interesting. Let's be clear. I mean, we can now understand why Africa is kind of in the state that it's in, and it's because white people kind of got in the way and made it their own business, essentially. Very informative. I found that I wasn't necessarily particularly interested in the topic, and maybe it's just like the author's voice, maybe it's just like, it was having trouble keeping my attention, I don't know, but I felt very medium about this, which is disappointing because I was really looking forward to this book. But, you know, sometimes that happens. If that is a book that you read and really loved, like, put it down in the comments. Like, you don't have to defend yourself to me by any means. Sometimes I just don't like books that other people like. But you can still be like, if someone else maybe who's watching this video is interested in reading it and my review of it doesn't necessarily encourage them to read it, put like a positive review down in the comments below being like, hey, I actually really liked this book because, and I think that'd just be nice. We're trying to have a little community here. I want us to share book ideas and book recommendations to each other. I think that's very fun. So that was my nonfiction. I didn't tell you any of my other stats. I said I'm not telling you my star rankings and then proceeded to not tell you any of my stats. So turn that back around. So let's talk. I read in January. You can tell it was a bad reading month for me based on these stats. If you've seen any one of my other stat videos, like, you'll be able to know. My pages read. I read 3,304 pages. I read for 29 hours. Now, when I have such a low time like that, but I still read a lot of pages, you know it was a heavy graphic novel month for me. And we'll talk about that a little further. My reading speed, once again, affected pretty heavily by my graphic novel, is 220.3 pages an hour, because I can just blow through graphic novels, straight up. I also think my pacing might have been a little bit out of whack, because as I read the Harry Potter series, I'm taking pretty intense notes. So I have to stop every chapter or sometimes in the middle of the chapter to make sure I'm getting that note like written down, and it's throwing off my pacing, and I'm not reading it as fast as maybe I could otherwise. So maybe that's just me though, I don't know. I read 16 books in February. 4 of them were audiobooks. I want to say another 7 of them were graphic novels. So if you're wondering why I didn't read very much hour-wise, that's why. But it's interesting talking about stats because I'll still be like, oh my gosh, January was such a slow month for me and I still read 16 books. It's because it's graphic novels, I promise. Like, I am not just like, I don't know, I'm not just trying to be like whining about something that's not like applicable to me. I was gravitating towards graphic novels this month. And you know what? Sometimes that happens, and it's okay for that to happen. If you're just really itching for audiobooks only, listen to audiobooks only. It'll be good. So, my best day read, I read 869 pages, and I read 270 minutes. Those might be 2 separate days, I do not know. Anyway, so those are my stats. Sorry I went a little out of order. As mentioned, my classic book was The Murder of Roger Ackroyd by Agatha Christie, and my nonfiction book was How Europe Underdeveloped Africa by, I don't think I said his name, by Walter Rodney, with an introduction by Angela Y. Davis, who I love, which is why I picked up the book, was because she wrote the introduction to it. But yeah, so let's talk about my translated book series. I read a 5-part manga series. Oh my god, so cute. It was so cute. It's called I Think Our Son is Gay. It is by Okura. That's his pen name, Okura. And it's just like basically this mom who kind of figures out that her son is gay and tries to be a really like good, quiet ally to him. And it's just like a slice of life, like little stories and stuff like that. But it was so precious. I was reading it and I had to like put it down a few times just to be like, oh, this is so cute. I just had such a good time reading it. I think the day where I read 800 pages, I read like 3 of them back to back. Precious. I thought it was so good. So like a really good like queer representation series. There's an asexual character, which I always love. I love seeing fellow asexuals in literature. And I don't know, I just had such a good time reading it. It was so cute. So if you're just looking for like a little wholesome, like queer read, I found that series at my library. Maybe it's available at yours. And I also know several of my frequent commenters I think would be pretty into just like a cozy little kind of queer story. And it made me feel so good. Like, I don't know, I think I've had a pretty neutral month, like just in life and stuff like that. But I was particularly feeling down before I started reading that series, and then I read it and I just was like, okay, good things happen. Even if it's just in fiction, good things are happening. And I just loved it. I loved it. It was so cute. So, as previously mentioned, I am doing a big recap series probably, because I've recorded a few of those recaps at this point and they're long. But I'm doing a recap series of Harry Potter. So I've read 4 Harry Potters this month. I'm not going to go into details about them because you'll hear about my thoughts in the recap video. But they were pretty much all of the non-graphic novel physical books that I read. Let me double check that. Oh yeah. I read four audiobooks, 8 graphic novels, and 4 physical books, and the 4 physical books I read were Harry Potter. So, I'm not gonna give that series any more drive for people to go read it, because I don't think people should read it. So that's all I'm gonna say. So, what else did I read? Okay, let's talk about some of the other books I read. So I read a book called Night of the Living Rez by Morgan Talty. I've really been interested in specifically Native American and indigenous like voices and stories and stuff like that. And Night of the Living Rez is just kind of a collection of ghost stories from a reservation. It's all fictional, but I had a really good time reading it. I would listen to it when I was going on walks when it was still kind of warm in January. Oof. And I really had it. It drew my attention in. I learned a lot about that culture. Like, I really had a good time. I don't remember specifically what the tribe of the main character was from at this moment. I apologize. But it was still a really good book. And it was a lot more folklore-y than like spooky. So, that's what I was thinking. I don't know why I was on a spooky kick kind of at the beginning of the month, because the next book I listened to was Night's Edge by Liz Kieran. And it's about a girl whose mother is kind of like a vampire adjacent creature. And I think the story focuses a lot less on like the vampire thing and a lot more on kind of the abusive and dependent relationship between the main character and her mom. I thought it was really interesting. I had a good time listening to it. The audiobook I listened to was narrated by Chase Sui Wonders. Sway Wonders? I don't know how she pronounces it. I apologize. But I think she's a great actor. So I think she was the correct pick for the book. And there's not often where I'm like listening to an audiobook narrator and I'm like, this is the one. But she did a really good job. I really enjoyed listening to it. But yeah, it's very queer. It is a very interesting analysis of a relationship between a girl and her mother. It's definitely an allegory for like being dependent on each other. I mean, the nature is that her mom like drinks her blood to like stay alive. But I thought it was very good. So, if you're looking for a little maybe spooky, maybe discussion of parental relationships book, that's a really good one. So, after this point, everything I read was a graphic novel. Oops. So I read Youth Group by Jordan Morris. I think I've talked before. I read one of Jordan Morris's other graphic novels recently, Bubble, because I am a big Good Mythical Morning fan and he's a writer on that show. And he sometimes will come on and be like, hey, I wrote a new graphic novel. So I've been looking forward to Youth Group for a while. I think I had it on hold at the library for like 12 weeks. Had a really, really fun time reading it. I grew up religious. If you can't just tell from the way I am, I grew up religious, so it just had a lot of like fun inside jokes and stuff like that, and it's about like these kids in this youth group who have to go fight demons. Yeah, super fun. I had a good time reading it. Another one that I read is Mimosa. I gotta figure out who it's by. Mimosa by Archie Bongiovanni, and it's about a queer friendship and their brunches and kind of all the stuff that they're dealing with in life and how their friendships affect that and stuff like that. It wasn't as uplifting as I thought it was going to be, but it definitely has it definitely feels like it has a basis in reality. So it is more realistic, but I still had a good time reading it. Like, I liked reading it. And then finally I read an adorable little graphic novel called Chef's Kiss by Jarrett Melendez. I was just really into super queer, graphic novels this month. Some months it's just like that. So, who knows? But it was very cute. It's about an English college graduate who can't find a job and decides to take on a job as a sous chef in a kitchen, and it's just cute and wholesome and fun, and I really liked it. So, what am I reading next month? I finally got Casey McQuiston's new book in from the library. It's been on hold for a while, so I am excited to read that. That'll be my next read. I'm going to take a pause in the Harry Potter series to read it. I still have the next 3 Harry Potters to read. And yeah, I haven't decided what my classic or my nonfiction. No, I did decide my nonfiction. I am going to listen to a very short audiobook that I have to find the name of. I'm going to listen to a short audiobook called The Future We Choose, Surviving the Climate Crisis by Christiana Figueres and Tom Rivett-Carnac. So it's just a nonfiction about being positive despite the fact that the world kind of feels like it's ending, particularly in the context of climate change and stuff like that. So those are the books that I currently have on my TBR that I'm currently getting prepped to read since it's the first day of February now. Do you like that I'm filming this the day before it comes out? Procrastination. And yeah, otherwise today I'm going to the Oddities and Curiosities convention. So if you're in the US, go to that. It's very fun. You get lots of cool things. I'm hoping to get a skull to put on my new apartment wall, but we'll see how that goes. What else? Thank you so much for watching. If you have any particular thoughts about the books I talked about, or you want to recommend a book to me, please comment down below. I do take your guys' recommendations seriously. I love getting recommendations from you guys. I've read some really good books because of you guys, so love that. If you liked the video, give it a like. If you have seen multiple of my videos that you've liked, maybe consider clicking subscribe. And if you are already subscribed and want to know when I post, then go ahead and turn on notifications. Yippee! So, today's recommendations for you. Go hang out with some form of community. If you have a close group of friends, play a role-play game with them. Start a book club. Do a bunch of stuff like that. I think community is really vital right now, particularly with just how things are going in the US. I feel like community is extremely vital. Work on loving yourself and empowering yourself. If you find that you are very empowered doing a certain activity, do that. If you find that there's something that you do that makes you really love yourself, do that. If you just need like affirmations, if you just need to tell yourself affirmations in the mirror, do that. It's really good for you. And I think, once again, I've particularly been feeling dire, and I feel like the thing that has made me kind of feel better about myself is, just loving myself a little bit. This outro is getting so long, but of course, finally, go visit and support your local library. I will see you all later. Goodbye.